When my daughter-in-law told me to leave, I smiled instead of crying. I still remember that moment very clearly. The room was quiet, too quiet, like the house itself was holding its breath. I stood there with my hands folded, nodding gently as if she had asked me something small. Inside, my heart felt like it had slipped out of place. I did not raise my voice. I did not argue. I did not ask why. I only smiled because I did not want her to see how much she had hurt me. This was my home, the home where I raised my son, the home where his first steps echoed across the floor, the home where I prayed, cooked, waited, and loved for so many years. And yet, on that day, it felt like I was only a guest who had stayed too long. Sometimes betrayal does not come with shouting or anger. Sometimes it comes softly, wearing a polite voice and a calm face. Sometimes it comes from someone you welcomed with open arms. This is my story. Not a story of hate, not a story of revenge, but a story of quiet pain, deep love, and the long road to understanding. I am a mother of one son. He is my only child. His father passed away when my son was still young, and from that day on, it was just the two of us. Life was not easy, but we managed. I worked hard. Some days I worked 2 jobs. Some nights I came home so tired that my legs shook. But I never complained. When my son smiled at me, everything felt worth it. Our home was small, but it was warm. We did not have expensive furniture or fancy meals, but we had laughter. We had respect. We had love. When my son grew older, I worried like all mothers do. I worried about his future. I worried about whether he would be happy. I worried about whether he would find someone kind. Then one day, he came home smiling in a way I had never seen before. He told me he had met someone. Her name was Lena. The first time I met her, I tried my best to make her feel welcome. I cooked her favorite food, I cleaned the house carefully, I wore my nicest clothes. She was polite, quiet. She smiled often, but spoke very little. I told myself she was shy. When my son said he wanted to marry her, my heart was full. I thanked God silently. I believed my prayers had been answered. After their marriage, they moved into my house. It made sense. The house was big enough, and I did not want to be alone. I believed living together would bring us closer. At first, things were peaceful. We ate together, we shared small talks in the kitchen. I tried not to interfere in their lives. I told myself, she is not my daughter, she is my son's wife. I must respect her space. But slowly, very slowly, something began to change. It started with small things, very small things, things that may not seem important to others. She stopped eating the food I cooked. She began cooking separately. When I entered the kitchen, her smile became tight. I told myself not to imagine things. I told myself I was being sensitive. Then she started changing things in the house. Furniture moved, curtains replaced, my old family photos quietly removed from the walls. One day, I looked around and felt like I was standing in someone else's home. My son was busy with work. When I tried to talk to him, he said, "Mom, please don't overthink. Everything is fine." So I stayed quiet. But silence does not heal pain. It only hides it. Lena began setting rules. Rules about the kitchen, rules about guests, rules about when I should eat. She never shouted. She never insulted me directly. Her words were calm but sharp. One evening, she said softly, "Mom, maybe you should stay in your room more. We need privacy." I nodded. I went back to my room. That night, I cried quietly into my pillow so no one would hear. I started feeling like a shadow. I was there, but not really seen. When relatives visited, she acted sweet. She called me Mom with a smile. But when we were alone, the cold returned. I prayed for patience. I prayed for understanding. I prayed for peace in my own home. But peace never came. The day everything changed was a rainy afternoon. The sky was gray and the house felt heavier than usual. My son had left early for work. Lena and I were alone. She sat across from me at the dining table. Her hands were folded. Her face was calm. She said, "Mom, we need to talk." My heart started beating fast. I already knew this talk would not be easy. She took a deep breath and said, "This house, this life, it's not working for me." I stayed quiet. Then she said the words that changed everything. "I think it would be better if you moved out." For a moment, I could not hear anything else. The rain outside sounded far away. I looked at her face, hoping to see hesitation, hoping to see kindness, but her eyes were firm. She continued, "My husband needs space. We need our own life." I wanted to ask, "Where will I go?" I wanted to say, "This is my home." But no words came out. I smiled. I smiled because I did not want to beg. I smiled because my heart had already broken. That night, I packed my clothes slowly. Each item felt like a memory being folded away. When my son came home, he was quiet. He did not look at me. He did not stop her. That hurt more than her words. I moved into my sister's small apartment. She welcomed me with open arms, but I still felt like a burden. At night, I stared at the ceiling and replayed everything in my mind. I asked myself where I went wrong. I asked myself if love was ever enough. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. My son visited sometimes. He was polite, distant. He never spoke about that day. Neither did I. Slowly, I began finding strength in silence. I started walking in the mornings. I started reading again. I started praying for peace, not answers. One evening, my son came alone. His eyes looked tired. He said, "Ummi, I should have spoken up." I listened quietly. He said, "I was afraid of losing my marriage. I didn't realize I was losing you." I placed my hand on his. I said softly, "I never stopped being your mother." Tears filled his eyes. That moment didn't fix everything, but it opened a door. Today, I no longer live in that house, but I have found peace in my heart. I learned that sometimes love means letting go. Sometimes strength means walking quietly away. And sometimes forgiveness is not for others, but for yourself. If you are listening to my story, remember this. Your worth is not defined by how others treat you. Your kindness is never wasted. And even when a home turns cold, your heart can still stay warm. Thank you for listening.